Back on HQ with a look at the final score in a rematch of last year's AFC title game. The result, the same. Cincinnati coming away with the winner, 27-24 over Kansas City. This Bengals defense able to shut down some of the bigger pieces of Pat Mahomes' offense. Not much Travis Kelce in this one, 4 receptions for 56 yards, and it was a piecemeal here and there. They also forced a fumble out of the hands of Kelce. A missed kick late in this one could have potentially tied the game by Harrison Butker, but that was not the case as Cincinnati comes away with another win. Joe Burrow now tied with Tom Brady for the most wins of any quarterback against Patrick Mahomes with 3. Only Burrow is 3-0. Ryan, Wilson, Tyler Sullivan breaking this one down. Gentlemen, big time result here in the AFC. I want to talk about it all, but big picture is where we should begin here because on the season, Kansas City has 3 losses. One of them against the Cincinnati Bengals, one of them against the Buffalo Bills. The 2 teams that are likely to be their biggest roadblocks in between them and the ultimate goal, Ryan Wilson. Big picture, how big of a result is this here on Sunday to you?
Enormous, because as you note, the teams they lost to are also battling for that #1 spot in the AFC. This is great news for the Buffalo Bills, who won on Thursday against the Patriots. And this is a game that Patrick Mahomes admitted coming into. They knew they had to, they wanted to make up for the 2 losses last year to the Bengals, but also wanted to keep ahead of the rest of the pack in the AFC, and they did neither. So that's a huge problem. It doesn't mean that Kansas City can't go on the road and win, but you would like a bye and you would like to play at home, ideally. And those things are now in question, with the Bills obviously in the mix and the Bengals making their move. It'll be interesting to see what the AFC North looks like with the Lamar Jackson knee injury, how that lingers and what that means for that division. But for the Chiefs, this was there for the taking, and you sort of noted it, Joe. The Harrison Butker miss at the end, that could have tied the football game. The series before was the Travis Kelce fumble that led to a Bengals touchdown and pretty much cemented the game away. And there was only 1 punt on each side for both teams. Burrow in that offense was clicking. They were going up and down the field. And other than those 2 things I mentioned, the other issue for the Chiefs defense, they couldn't stop Samaje Perine. He averaged 5 yards a carry, hit 106 for the total. And that's a huge development, especially when Jamar Chase is back from missing those 2 games. And he took over at times as well. So there's a lot to love if you're a Bengals fan. Not necessarily concerns if you're the Chiefs, other than that you perhaps hope that you don't face the Bengals come playoff time, because they have had Andy Reid's number each and every time they've faced the Chiefs there. And that's a curious development and one certainly to keep an eye on.
Ryan, you mentioned the Buffalo win on Thursday, then the subsequent loss here by Kansas City and by Miami. Heading into Week 14, Buffalo will be on the 1 line and in possession of that lone bye here as we take a look at the playoff picture moving forward. But Tyler, when you sort of size up Kansas City relative to their next closest competition or to their closest competition with them no longer sitting on that 1 line, what worries you most about Kansas City and their current offering?
Yeah, right now it's their turnovers. I mean, obviously, they played a pretty much perfect game up until that Travis Kelce turnover. But if you're playing against teams that are matching you, going toe-to-toe like Joe Burrow was, 25 of 31, really felt like he was ready to go after Patrick Mahomes, you can't make those types of mistakes. That's the type of miscue that will send you home early in the postseason. You can be as perfect as you want, and it did feel like Kansas City was about to kind of gain and pull away there from Cincinnati, and we could see how quickly these games change on a dime. Turnovers have been a little bit of an issue over the last few weeks for the Kansas City Chiefs, so for me, that's where it ends all be all. Obviously, you'd like to see them play better defensively, stop the running game. Like Ryan was saying, Samaje Perine has been a sneaky MVP for this Bengals team over the last few weeks with Joe Mixon out. You'd like to see them be able to shut those teams out and really create a little bit more for their offense. But ultimately, you can't, if you're Travis Kelce, you can't, if you're Patrick Mahomes, have that type of turnover at that point in the game, because with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, that's going to open the door for them to win it.
Taking a look at what this series has been in the head-to-head, it's been the Bengals with the dominance in this clash of 2 top-tier quarterbacks. But sort of when we assess how we've gotten there, Ryan, when you take a look at what Cincinnati has been able to accomplish over this last 2 months, winners in 6 of their last 7 after a slow start, what is it about this team that they continue to crescendo in these moments and really take the coaching on as the season goes?
You know, it's funny. I used to say this about Matt LaFleur with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Zach Taylor's a good coach. All I know is that they do a great job, Duke Tobin does, of putting players on that roster, and it starts with Joe Burrow. And that's no disrespect to Zach Taylor. It just feels like you could roll the ball out there and stand on the sidelines and watch what happens. It starts with Joe Burrow. we used to call Lenny Dykstra Nails back in the day when I was growing up watching baseball. I feel like Joe Burrow's nickname, in addition to being Joe Cool, should be Nails because nothing affects him. He's suddenly turned into Lamar Jackson as a runner, which is sort of fun to see. He's making plays with his feet. He's always making plays with his arm. And there were no answers from that Chiefs defense. Steve Spagnuolo tried everything. Nothing worked. And once you go beyond that, T. Higgins, somehow a second-round pick, is playing like A.J. Green every time you see him making plays and high-pointing the ball over defenders that are helpless to do much about it. Tyler Boyd dropped that huge touchdown catch, but he has been consistent throughout his career out of the slot. Jamar Chase, there's nothing else that needs to be said. I mentioned P. Ryan earlier. The offensive line is playing so much better. I think there was only one time that Burrow was sacked today, and he made those plays with his feet. And then on the defensive side of the ball, young, fast, physical, every level, they get after it. And there are very few holes in this team, and that's how you become one of the best teams in the AFC. Their schedule is tough looking forward, Joe and Sully, but this is a huge win. And by the way, if you can beat the Chiefs, you can beat anyone else in your schedule. Perhaps it's a little tougher than the other teams at the top of this conference, but that doesn't mean you can't get there. At the very least, win the division and, of course, make an effort to get to that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.